Hey, everybody. Getting a little rock and roll music going on here. Ooh, let me get those adjustments made to the levels. Hey, now, it's Matt McCourt, yes, back with Life's Journey at 50. Crazy stuff. What's going on? Up for another podcast. I did mine on Thanksgiving last time. A lot of stuff out there. Crazy podcast, the last one. I know I was a little bit all over the place. So let me take this music on out of here. So, yeah, there we go. Hey, so, you can catch me again. A lot of places, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, and going to get back at this and get some ramped up here. Might do a couple of them. So, so tonight, I think one of the things I wanted to talk about was just kind of, our current technology, where we're at in this day and age in 2020 as we head into 2021. Obviously, you got a current regime heading out, whether they like it or not, and you got the new one coming in, whether you like it or not. And that's not going to be the part of this. A bigger portion of it is I watched a thing. I'm sure you guys all have Netflix. I mean, it's COVID time. I think everybody's just watched everything and kind of, I don't know. Heck, I'm on The Sopranos for the third time or something like that. I've watched. There's so many good things on streaming that it seems like that's all everybody ever does. Like, you can't go anywhere, so what do? You just end up really just sitting there and binge watching. So I watched the other night a thing called The Social Dilemma. And if you haven't seen it on Netflix, I would highly recommend it. It is pretty interesting. There is several people that are former, significant people that worked at Google and Facebook and Uber and Pinterest and Apple, and there's a bunch of people that worked at some of these social media companies, Instagram and Twitter, and we're not talking about just like the Joe Schmo that is kind of just a second-rate engineer, which, trust me, if you're an engineer for any of those companies, you're doing rather well, so it's not second-rate. But you know what I mean. I mean, these people were VPs, senior VPs, people that were in charge of, making the dollars for Facebook and stuff, how to monetize the data. That's an industry I'm in, on monetization of the data. And we're all data hounds, and that's kind of what everything's driven off of. And boy, I got to watching this thing. And it's really, I have to tell you, for all those people out there that don't like technology, or, like when you get a cell phone, whether, I don't care if it's Android, Apple, whatever. I mean, to even start the thing, you have to accept basically everything. And who's a lawyer, right? Nobody's going to read all that stuff. You just hit, okay, accept, yes, boom, I want to use my phone, right? And you're off to the races. Well, what ends up happening is people don't read that stuff and don't understand it. It's, once you say yes to all that stuff, your data is free reign for the most part. Now, Apple does a pretty good job of privacy, not fully. I know they have a lot of ads saying that they have privacy. Google does the same thing with their Fort Knox. And but I would tell you that once you hit yes to the apps, the phone, all that stuff, you're on the grid. You are absolutely on the grid, and you're fully immersed, whether you like it or not. It's always funny. I mean, for all these years, people are like, yeah, I was looking at something on Nordstrom or whatever, and then when I popped open my Facebook, the items were sitting over there. And well, yeah, of course, these are all cookies. They're all linked into your profiles. They're all connected. They're all in your cache. And again, I don't want to get too technical with folks, but there's a constant crawler and a AI behind it, artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's a lot of those things in there. And again, I work for a company. I mean, we get a lot of point of sale data from a lot of retailers. We also get loyalty data. So you that have loyalty cards, I we probably have access to your loyalty information. We partner with, the likes of MasterCard, where, we get, hundreds and hundreds of millions of credit card transactions. We cross-reference that with all these household loyalty stuff. And we pretty much can target each household and know exactly what you're spending on a weekly basis, whether it's in grocery, drug, mass, convenience, and really could get down to the nitty-gritty of how you're spending your money, where you're spending your money. We get set-top box, so that means what you're watching, how you're, we partner with Google for your search habits, things like that. So plus we're doing media and looking at how social media and regular media and how we can penetrate that, and how manufacturers spend their money to trigger you to purchase items at certain locations, certain stores, geo syncing, geo spots where, if you're driving by certain retailer or whatever, ad or something might pop up on your phone to trigger you to go into that store and purchase things. So yeah, you are being manipulated. Let's just put it like that. You enjoy it. You love it. Don't sit there and say, "Oh, I can't believe they're doing it." You love every minute of it. Trust me. And, it's just part of our world that we live in. And so what I really thought was interesting, if you watch this Social Dilemma thing, when the internet started and we started having phones and stuff, and we're only thinking about 15 years roughly, right? 2004 started really the phones. I know we had Blackberries and we had, your flip phones and kind of, the brick phones and stuff back in the, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. The technology was, they were charging like $2 per minute, and it was really crazy back then. And as things got cheaper, iPhone came out. I think it was 2004. Jobs launched it. I should know that, but I think it's 2004. But, since those times, things have just become cheaper, faster, moving along, and data just continues to consume. And we consume a ton of data. I mean, look how much you're on your phones and stuff like that. Every week, my iPhone tells me exactly how much time that I've spent on my gadgets, whether that's my iPad, my or my phone, right? So it's mobile technology. It doesn't tell me when I'm on my computer. Oh my God, if I'm on my computer, I might as well just, my life is on my computer. So, but I would tell you that when you do all that stuff, I mean, it really just logs in everything, right? I mean, you got Face ID, you've got fingerprint scanning, all that stuff. I mean, you think about it, and where does all that data go? And so, but what I really thought that was interesting on the Social Dilemma side, and watching this like docudrama, whatever you want to call it, it's real stories. It's really what's going on. And some of them got out of these companies to enlighten folks about what's really going on behind the scenes, where these companies are really tied to the hip. Facebook might say that they're a separate company, and Twitter, Jack Dorsey, we all know how he's a little bit of a loon, a little bit of a rebel. Zuckerberg plays dumb. He's as dumb as a fox. He'll look at Congress and you see that stare in his face like, I don't know. I didn't know this. Don't give me. You guys, trust me. These guys know exactly what they're doing. Sundar over at Google knows what he's doing. Sergey Brin and, Larry Page and those guys that own Google, they know exactly what they've done. It's all embedded. It's all tied to one another. These companies are, they actually can change things. And when you watch this, what was, to me, even what they brought up was that at first, and I was starting to talk about this like in the 90s, and when we were paying $3,000-$4,000 for 486 DX because I need to have the DX because it did that last decimal point on spreadsheets, right? Some of you that are folks out there, you guys will know that and kind of laugh about it. And when you had those computers and you're getting on the internet and getting online and you guys, you've got mail, type of thing. It was the coolest thing since sliced bread. But when we started off like that, the tech industry and these folks were talking about how when they started off, that the internet and what social media was for and stuff like that was really to learn, right? I mean, you Googled something, how to cook this, how to do that, where to go, that type of thing, whatever. And then things started changing, right? Over the course of the last 15 years, things went from exploratory nuances, new things, learning, and, expanding our horizons to using social media to attack one another, to instill, whatever it is that, our, some little thing that we could foster into a bigger social dilemma than what it really is. And the other thing that what they did is this machine learning and this artificial intelligence and what it's doing to all of us is that it learns your patterns. That's what it does. So if you're constantly, let's say you're a, liberal, big Biden, big Bernie Sanders supporter or stuff. So Facebook and Google and searches like that, it will learn your habits. And over time, that's the only things you really get fed is that information around catered to your kind of environment. Whereas if you're a Trumpster or a Republican or, if you're a Ted Cruz fan or, Rush Limbaugh or whatever, it will, the information, news stories and everything will all be skewed towards your kind of world and stuff like that. And before this, it was really open. You really can learn from both sides and really have a conversation. And it really has shown that, we live in now that what they're scared of is that the internet and social media specifically has completely changed our thinking, our friends, our outcomes to where the point where we don't even communicate with people on the other side of the fence anymore. We get into our little, world of whether it's right or left or wherever you're at, and all that stuff is shaped and molded to specifically what you're looking at, but predominantly. You might get some things that pop up here and there that are random or whatever. And, but I would tell you that when you look at this, it's crazy. I actually think it's made things worse for all of us, right? I mean, it's like all these hashtag movements, all these, social justice stuff and all this stuff gets started on the internet, and then it just fosters into something that just really alienates everybody. I mean, nobody even has a conversation anymore. And if you've listened to me prior, I've talked about that numerous times where we can't even get the right and the left to sit down and talk about trying to get whether it's a deal done for the economy and what's going on during COVID pandemic, or just in general, what's best for this country and how can we move forward. Everybody's got to fight to win. Everybody's got to put somebody else down because I've got to be right and they've got to be wrong. And nobody wants to compromise. Nobody wants to sit across the table from one another. Nobody wants to break bread with one another. And this is where, if you start looking at this, I was really shocked at kind of the folks that were on there. I mean, these were senior VPs of engineering, artificial intelligence, monetizing the data, how they activate it, how you're manipulated by the artificial intelligence and the machine learning stuff. And I really thought wow, we're really addicted to this. It was funny. They talked about how people can't, stop from, their phones and stuff like that and their kids. And I just really thought it was pretty interesting. And it talked about how the suicide rates amongst young kids, girls and males, and how it's dramatically just went off the charts. These kids are getting phones and stuff younger. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I gave my son a phone, I think when he was 7, 8, 9 years old, somewhere in that 9, 10, somewhere in that neighborhood. And he's been on, social media for 8, 9, 10 years. And, especially with Snappy Chatty, I call it, Snapchat. That's obviously the big thing. TikTok now and all this stuff, but they're all linked, kind of interwoven with one another. And I just really thought that when you take a look at all this stuff, like, it's interesting to me how we've allowed, and what's happened is we have allowed this to infiltrate our lives and to create these walled areas from one another. We've lost touch with one another. It's hard to sit down anymore, whether you're at dinner or with anybody. And heck, I'm single, and dating and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you go and you might have your phone on the table or something like that. And, people get upset because whether your phone's going off but that's how we live our lives. That's who we are. And, some of us, we need to take a break from that once in a while. And, but it's hard. We're addicted. We're addicted to our Facebook. How many likes did I get? I didn't get enough likes. Why is that? Hey, I have a YouTube channel now. Granted, I haven't done much, like I've said in the past, on the YouTube thing. But how you get the likes? How do you get people to watch your channel? You got to do better. You got to do this. You got to do that. So you're always looking for that recognition. You're always looking for someone to give you that sense of like that I wanted and all this other stuff, and it can be draining. It can be really draining. It could be taxful. It could be very depressing for one, if that's what you live your life off of, is social media. I know a few people that, my God, if they don't get enough likes or they don't get enough people making comments on their thing, they get upset by it. And I'm like, or if they don't get tagged in something. I mean, literally, I've had a few people, even recently, that get upset because they didn't get tagged in a post. Like that's not the end of the world. And I don't know. I think if you watch this Social Dilemma thing, really highly encourage you to watch it, because it's really taken us down a path, because it talked about how in Myanmar that social media, actually helped lead to a kind of a civil war. Obviously social media can do a lot of damage just based on the fact of you've got, fake news. Everybody wants to say fake news, whatever. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of that. You don't know what to believe on the internet. We don't even know what to believe on our own news networks anymore. So, but yeah, so, there's a lot of things that are out there. You kind of have to do your searching and dig in and look at it. But, I really felt bad because this generation, these last two generations that are coming up, the Gen Zs and millennials and stuff like that are just being impacted, and it's terrible what's happening. And but they talk about this could lead to a civil war and civil unrest, and look what's going on in our country. I mean, think about over the last probably 5 or 6 years, all the social stuff that's gone on, not only during the Trump years, but even during the Obama years, and how social media was used to be an activist. And it's really just torn our country apart. I mean, look at recently, about the election and stuff and what's going on. And it is to the point where, you can start having some civil unrest. And is that what they really want? Is that what we're trying to do? I mean, I don't think so, but boy, social media is, it's kind of done that flip side, right? The first side of it is what everybody thought about. It was, it was educational, it was entrepreneurial, and it was all that. And then now it's become hatred and a tool to use against one another and to demean people and to, fight, argue. And, what has it become? And like I said, if you get a chance, check out the Netflix series, the program. It's called The Social Dilemma. I think it dropped roughly about May or June, because they did have some references in there around COVID-19. But so this is recent. So this is, these are real people that worked at these companies that are telling everybody that we need to do a better job. I mean, I thought it was good too, because there's really no moral people. I mean, there's just an article recently, the person for Google who did AI was about the moral basis of it. She was a VP. she just got fired from Google, and there's some uproar about why she was fired, because she had, going to read the article. I don't want to, get on a different tangent, but I thought that was interesting, because she started bringing up some things around what they were doing at Google. And, everybody uses Google. I mean, if you say go search something, go Google it. It is a term. Google it. That's it. Even Apple has let you, change the default browser to Google if you want it from Safari. Although I believe Apple's coming out with their own search engine to replace Safari in the next year or so. But yeah, so I find that if you watch this and correlate it back to what's going on in your life, the immediate, people that are in your life, and then look at it from a broader perspective, it's really telling on what's going on. And I think, I think you should be aware of it and kind of what's going on. And I just, man, I tell you, I was really taken aback by watching it, and and being in the industry. I mean, I'm in a big data company industry, and we constantly are looking at data and trying to find new waves of new platforms of data and how to use it again, in the marketplace, and how we're selling items and how people are purchasing and their interaction and all that to consumer packaged goods, and how they're interacting with the retailers, how are they shopping, what's their patterns inside the stores. And so, yeah, it can be kind of creepy, right? But I would tell you, check it out. It's a great show. Just gives you a lot of insights. Think if you got kids, I would recommend them watch it as well, because it will open up their eyes a little bit around kind of what's going on and how they're being manipulated. And again, I thought it was good. We probably will all continue just to keep, our mindless droning on of liking and posting and all this other stuff. It is what it is. But you should be aware of what's going on and kind of some of the takes from some of these folks that are in the industry, and just thought I would, have a little content about that. So, again, hope everybody's well. I'm going to take my music out of here. It's my original music too. So, so again, The Social Dilemma, it's on Netflix. Highly encourage you watch it. Check it out. Interesting, I thought. I really appreciate you stopping by, taking a listen. Going to try to get another episode out of here this evening, this weekend. So again, if check it out on Podbean, Apple, Spotify, Google, and Amazon. And really appreciate you listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. Again, I'm your host, Matt McCourt. This is Life's Journey at 50, and we'll see you soon. Bye now. Take care.